클릭해주셔서 감사합니다.
Hello everyone, I'm Laisea JK Lee. In the previous lecture, we talked about consumerism and why modern societies constantly encourage some consumption and economic growth. But today we are going to ask a much bigger question. Can economic growth continue forever on a finite planet? Can modern economies continue expanding without destroying the environment? Why is climate change considered not only an environmental issue but also an economic issue? And how will energy, technology, and policy shape the future of human civilization? Today we will explore climate change, sustainability, energy systems, and the future of the global economy. Let's begin. First, let's understand something important. Modern economic growth has been deeply connected to energy. Factories, transportation, electricity, agriculture, digital infrastructure. All of these systems require enormous amounts of energy. Historically, much of this energy came from fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas. These energy sources helped create industrial civilization and dramatically increased living standards. However, they also created major environmental consequences. Now let's talk about climate change. Climate change refers to long-term changes in Earth's climate patterns, especially rising global temperatures. One major cause is greenhouse gas emissions. When fossil fuels are burned, they release gases such as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat and contribute to global warming. Now here is something very important. Climate change is not only about weather, it also affects economies directly. For example, natural disasters damage infrastructure, droughts affect agriculture, rising sea levels threaten coastal cities, extreme heat reduces productivity, resource shortages increase instability. Climate change creates enormous economic costs. Now let's discuss externalities again. Remember from our earlier lecture, an externality occurs when economic activity affects people who are not directly involved in a transaction. Pollution is one of the most important negative externalities in economics. A company may earn profits while environmental damage affects society more broadly. Because markets often fail to fully account for environmental costs, economists debate how governments should respond. Now let's discuss renewable energy. To reduce emissions, many countries are investing in solar energy, wind power, hydroelectric systems, nuclear energy, battery technology. The goal is to transition toward cleaner energy systems. Supporters argue renewable energy can reduce pollution and create sustainable long-term growth. However, transitions are difficult and expensive. Now here is an important economic challenge. Modern economies depend heavily on continuous growth. Governments want more jobs, higher incomes, greater productivity. Businesses seek expansion and profit. Consumers demand products and services. But infinite growth on a finite planet creates tension. This raises a major question in economics. Can sustainable growth truly exist? Some economists believe technology will solve many environmental problems. For example, cleaner energy, more efficient production, carbon capture technology, electric transportation, artificial intelligence optimization. They argue innovation can decouple economic growth from environmental destruction. Others are more skeptical. They argue endless consumption and production are fundamentally unsustainable. Some critics believe societies must rethink consumption habits, economic priorities, resource use, definitions of success. This debate continues worldwide. Now let's discuss climate policy. Governments use many tools to address environmental problems. For example, carbon taxes, environmental regulations, renewable energy subsidies, international climate agreements. The idea is to create incentives for cleaner economic behavior. But climate policy is politically difficult. Why? Because environmental protection often involves economic trade-offs. For example, stricter environmental regulations may increase business costs. Energy transitions may disrupt industries and jobs. Consumers may face higher prices temporarily. Economics helps societies think about these difficult trade-offs carefully. Now let's connect this to inequality. Climate change does not affect everyone equally. Poorer countries and vulnerable populations are often more exposed to environmental risks. At the same time, wealthier countries historically produced much larger amounts of greenhouse gases. This creates global debates about fairness and responsibility. Now let's talk about the future. The next century may involve one of the largest economic transformations in human history. Energy systems may change completely. Transportation may become electric. Cities may become more sustainable. Technology may dramatically reshape production and consumption, but these transitions will require an enormous investment, cooperation, and innovation. Now here is one final important idea. Economics is not only about maximizing production, it is also about long-term survival and human well-being. A successful economy must eventually answer difficult questions. How should humans balance prosperity and sustainability? How should societies distribute environmental costs? What kind of future should civilization build? So let's summarize today's lecture. Modern economic growth has depended heavily on fossil fuels and energy consumption. Climate change creates major environmental and economic challenges. Pollution is a negative externality that markets often fail to address fully. Countries are investing in renewable energy and sustainable technologies. However, balancing economic growth, environmental protection, and social stability remains extremely difficult. And because climate change may shape the future of civilization itself, understanding environmental economics is becoming increasingly important. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this lecture, please like and subscribe. And in the next video, we will discuss another major topic in economics. What is happiness economics? Does economic growth actually make humans happier? See you next time.